Hey Village, Tony here. So glad to be joining you for this week's sermon recap episode. This past Sunday, we had the exciting opportunity to hear Pastor Mauricio and Pastor Aleda deliver our sermon titled Work Out Your Salvation. Now, I think when we hear the line, work out your salvation, there can be a mixed bag of emotions. A distinctive of the Christian faith is that there's nothing that you and I can do to be saved by God. There's nothing that you and I can do to earn our salvation. That's one of the touchstones, the hallmarks, if you will, of the Christian faith. That you and I receive salvation, we are saved by grace through faith. And so therefore, what does it mean when Paul, the apostle, says, for you and I to work out our salvation? Doesn't it seem a bit counterintuitive if we are saved by grace, solely by grace, but then we are encouraged and extolled to work out our salvation? I think one thing that is very important for us to clear out of the way is that working out our salvation does not mean earning our salvation. Working out our salvation does not mean anything that there's anything you and I can do to add to our being saved, to retain our being saved, to modify our being saved. There's absolutely nothing you and I can do in our human agency, in our human capabilities to effect our salvation. And so it's crucial then to think about the working out of our salvation in fear and trembling as something wholly other than securing it or adding to it. I think what Paul talks about in the working out of our salvation is wonderfully explained by the theologian Karl Barth. Barth talks about the working out of our salvation as a response of gratitude. That when you and I work out our salvation with fear and trembling, the fear and trembling is much like the posture of previous biblical characters. We see Moses, we see the prophets, we see David, all encounter God with fear and trembling. And so fear and trembling is not a, wow, God might destroy me and smite me and obliterate me. That's a fear of a retributive, abusive entity. That's not the fear and trembling that the Apostle Paul is talking about. Rather, the fear and trembling is an acknowledgement of being in the presence of the life giver himself. And so for Moses, when Moses encounters God in the Old Testament, he is tucked away, hidden in the cleft of a rock, so that the glory of God can pass. We see that Moses comes face to face with God, and his countenance is changed entirely. That's the posture of fear and trembling. So what the Apostle Paul is saying in working out our salvation with fear and trembling, it's to adopt the posture of previous biblical characters who also have encountered God with fear and trembling. And so therefore, the work out our salvation, that is the, if you will, the statement for faith. You and I are saved by grace, and the working out of our salvation, of our grace, is our faith. And our faith is a response of gratitude, gratefulness, and thankfulness. That when you and I come before God, we are filled with awe and reverence, fear and trembling, because we come face to face with the life giver. And we respond in gratitude. That's our faith. Faith is our response of gratitude for being saved through grace. And so what's wholly important for us is that we never confuse our working out our salvation with anything you and I have to do, anything you and I have to believe in order to be saved. We are saved wholly by God, and we respond wholly in gratefulness. That's our faith. Faith is our gratitude taking root and taking shape in our lives. And I think that's where rejoicing in Christ and the foundation for joy can be found is that you and I can rejoice in Jesus because we know that we are saved, not that we rejoice in Christ so that we are saved. And I think Pastor Mauricio and Pastora Aleda talked about this past Sunday about you and I needing to rightly understand who God is and therefore rightly understanding who we are in light of who God is. That we need to understand and see there's nothing we can do to save ourselves, but God is wholly merciful, wholly just, and wholly loving. Therefore, he redeems us, and therefore we rightly understand that our lives are turned towards God and turned towards other in faith, in gratitude, in gratefulness. And so as you think about working out your salvation in your DNA groups and in your personal devotional time, would you think about what it means to respond to God in gratefulness? Would you think about what it means to respond to God in thankfulness and gratitude? Would you rest in the security of your salvation, knowing that it's God who saves you and not anything you do or anything we believe? There's a profound rest to be offered. I think this is what the easy yoke that Jesus talks about is in the Gospels. The good news is that you and I have been saved, and we respond in our faith, which is gratefulness. What does it look like for you to work out your salvation? What does it look like for you to adopt a posture of gratefulness and thankfulness? So glad to join you for this episode and looking forward to joining you on the next one. Thanks, Village.